trying to say. I
Good evening and welcome, guys, and welcome in to Formula Racing League's Season 12 Rookies / Silver / Pro-Am stream, I guess you could call it now. I'm not sure what they called it now because I think they have had multiple titles for this, but I believe I'm not sure if it is still Intermediate A and B, but if it is, then that's what you could call it as well. But it does seem to be a full server here tonight with 40 drivers here at the heart of, well, just the outskirts of New York, you could say, as well as we're here at Watkins, Glen, one of my favorite America's base track. As we can see now, the silver drivers are just embarking onto their first hot lap shit. It doesn't seem like anyone is improving since their personal best of practice time so far, but that will change very, very soon as we do see them now going through into the S's, going through into sector 2 here as we go through into the back straight, going in to the bus stop. A very, very high speed corner, but can go wrong very, very easily, especially with some of those cars that aren't, the front engine cars aren't as heavy, such as the McLaren. Competitive Ford Mustang as well just seems to be absolutely planted to the floor there as we went through into the bus stop here. Jim Emanuelson in the silver class, number 167 Ford Mustang here, and I'm pleased to say though as well, the livery should all be sunk. There were a few that I was a tiny bit unsure about, but it looks like they are just using the in-game editor, which is brilliant for me. So liveries are working. Not sure what happened on round 1, so I apologize for that. But if you don't know who I am, I'm Aces, also known as Alex. I am a commentator here at FRL, as well as I believe Ricky did rookies last time at Zandvoort. I did round 1, I did the opening. So thank you, Ricky, for that as well. But we do see now going on to the end of qualifying now, just 7 minutes remaining. I was going to open stream a tiny bit earlier, but unfortunately you spend so much money on voice and audio and stuff and it just doesn't work. So luckily it started working eventually, so you can just see how organized I actually am. But we can see now as well, Andrei Orishkin in the Red Panda Racing BMW M4 currently in P5, does seem to be behind some of the AM drivers there. So if those AM drivers are going a tiny bit too quick for his class, or if they are just currently setting quite nice times around this track, it does seem a 44.3 is a very, very nice time around this track. I believe I did see a 43 or so, and potentially a 42 in the Pro Series as well. So that is definitely going to be something to take into consideration, as how much of a time difference there is going to be between the silvers and the AM shift tonight, because we are merged of both servers here with 40 drivers, which is good to see because it definitely provides some brilliant racing as well as that. Now as we merge on into the end of qualifying here, 6 minutes left to go, so we do see Andre just getting very loose going into the wall there in that BMW M4. Unfortunately for him, that will be probably one of his last laps there, unless he can get out in time round. It's going to be about 2 minutes for his out lap there, so we'll have about 2 laps or so, more or less, depending on where he is positioned at the end of this lap, obviously. But we can see now Novak is in P2, the highest silver categorized driver now with the Advisor Racing team here. The BMW M4 going through bus stop now is up about 2 tenths so far. Was going to be enough. I was about to say is going to be enough to take away Cox's time, but unfortunately goes a tiny bit wide out of bus stop. So that is one of the risks that you are taking around this track, is just how aggressive the curbs are going through bus stop, and you have to take them as well to actually gain any sort of time. Well, as now we can see Rob Hoofs and the Gazelle Motorsport. BMW M4 doesn't seem to have the best of luck so far in terms of traffic. We do see it's going to be Mickey Taylor in front, as well as another car that I can't just see. It's just out of my sight there as well. So that is going to provide him dirty air around the track that is so aero reliant as well. You've got all of these fast corners like the hoof and also the heel as well going on into sector 3, as well as the bus stop as well. I keep forgetting that as well. It's just, again, just so many fast corners that you have to actually remember about this track. So again, having clean air is going to be crucial, but with 40 drivers, it's going to be quite uncommon to find that clean air at all. As well as we can see, it's going to be going further up into the grid as well. We can see now it's going to be Hanno once again in the PST Racing Ford Mustang, a beautiful looking livery, may I add. Currently going through into turn 1 for probably one of the final times for himself, just breaking the green delta there. Still able to gain a tiny bit of time though, but still has many corners left to go, as we do see him now just starting to keep it going now, as it does seem he has the slipstream in front, but how much is that going to actually advance him, or is that going to be a disadvantage through the stage? Going through bus stop, he is just losing his time as we do see the blue Ferrari 296 and 40 going off there. That is going to be a tiny bit of a sigh of relief there for Hanno, as he was starting to catch that car up, but we do see now he is starting to sacrifice his time as we go through into sector 2, but it does seem he is going to be able to improve just a tiny bit so far as he goes into sector 2. Still has, again, one entire sector left to go, as we do see Christopher Gedman, I believe, one of the admins here, saying look out for the tennis ball. Porsche tonight's number 79, and I believe, if I can see him on my race control, will his livery have sunk as well? I actually, Chris, I don't know where you are. There you are, number 79 in the, I'm not even going to attempt to name that, mate, unless you can give me pronunciation and how you say your team name. I'm not going to be saying that, but we do see him in pits currently in P31 for 147.9 there. He is going to be starting further down the pack, which is probably a bit of a blessing around this track with 40 cars, but we do see Kieran Cox still in the lead here in the Astro Racing team in the AM class as well. It's starting to get a tiny bit suspicious on how this is being categorized for him there. We do see Hanno as well in the PST Racing trying to gain time there, trying to take the victory of qualifying going in to round 3 now, I believe we're in. As we do have Norge for Life and next, which is the 90-minute, which will probably be at times quite sparse, because obviously it's quite a big track. Obviously the Norge for Life, but I reckon it's definitely going to provide some good racing as well. As we do see Vitisi, is that how you say it? Vitisi? Saying hi, good to see you, mate. Hope you are well, as we do now see as well coming through onto the final 2 minutes of qualifying. We do see Daniel Trambaglio in the FMP Italia 373 McLaren just getting a bit loose there, going through into one of the final corners as he goes in to the final corner. Now still going to be 2 tenths up. No, he loses it going through the final corner though. Is he going to be able to redeem it? No, he is not. Unfortunately, it's not going to be his lap there, but he still has 1 lap, maybe 2, if he's lucky to get the job done. And hopefully we can see the same with Craig Hill here in the back marker Motorsport Lamborghini. It's best chat bar none. I'm hoping, by the way, audio quality in terms of game as well is fine, because I do have it turned up a bit more than usual, and obviously my mic's on a completely different setting, so I apologize about all of that if it's sounding pants. It shouldn't be, but I haven't had a lot of time to actually prepare all of this. You're Andriy Luchisano? So I'm not very good when it comes to names that are foreign to an Englishman, so most names here. So it's definitely going to be a tiny bit difficult for me, some of these names, but it's not as bad as some of the ones I've had to try and pronounce earlier on, the especially Polish names. They seem to be absolutely awful for me to try and pronounce, so if you're Polish, I apologize. But we do see now Daniel Trambaglio as well in the FMP Italia car. Does seem to be having the most amount of luck in qualifying so far, on P5, P4 in class, which again, with Kieran Cox still in pole position so far with that 44.3. And there is quite a big gap, may I add, between P1 and P2. Just two, well, I say just 2 tenths. 2 tenths in qualifying is quite a lot with 40 cars as well, but we do see the top 14 are split by just a second there as well. That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Chris. As well as now, I'm going to say this again, I'm very rusty still. I've not done ACC broadcasting. Or will I say that in about 2 weeks, so I've not done much commentary at all. But we do see now Barry as well in the Baz Laundromat Black Mercedes. That is a beautiful livery as well. Most of these are going to be good, and hopefully we might have time to try do a tiny bit of a livery competition, I guess, on stream. I'm not sure if the master stream will do the same thing as me, but I'll try to fit something in if it starts to get a tiny bit sparse in terms of what we're seeing on track later on. But at the moment it does seem to be setting quite promising in terms of what we are going to see here for tonight. But we do see qualifying coming to the end here. Hanu once again trying to attempt to get that pole position, but does seem to have cut the track going through into the heel there. But does seem he is still going to be up, but unfortunately it's not going to count towards their time going through as well. Which we can see Barry, the only other car that isn't across the line just yet. Lucy Sano. That sounds a lot easier to say if that's how you say it. So now Barry goes into the pits there. Unfortunately not going to improve his time there, but still P7 brilliant for himself. P6 in class as well, but again Kieran seems to have taken pole position here for himself in the AM class as well with our 44.3, which is a lovely time around here. But we do see now, just going on to the calendar while we wait for the server to take over, we do see it's going to be Nordschleife for next, as I mentioned, for the 90-minute race, followed then by Bathurst, which again is going to be chaotic if the population of these servers start to maintain, as well as then Paul Ricard, definitely a Marmite track as well for a lot of these drivers, because I believe it's probably one of the most hated tracks in the game. I believe is going to be Paul Ricard, and then we also have Zolder as well for the penultimate round, and then running it out at Suzuka for the 90-minute race, which is going to be how it is for the season 4 tonight. How many I will be able to attend is definitely going to be down to what my agency is with as well. But we do see, well, going back into game, the cars are getting ready to go green here for the hour race. We do have 2 minutes until session start. We do have Kieran Cox though in the lead of this race, followed then by what is going to be, oh my days, Vigawi, I think is how you say it, in P2, followed then by Tua Mainen in P3, Novak in P4, Orish Kin in P5, Daniel Trambaglio in P6, Mnemonic in P7, as well as what we do see is Van Horn in P8, as well as Bathgate in P9, as well as then we do see Fastari in P10, Franson in P11, Hoofs in P12, Craig Hill in P13, followed then by Cody Bessie-Link in 14th, then with Stewart in P15, and then 2P is going to be in, what's it called, Piot, sorry, in P16, as well as Emmanuel Son in P17, as well as Vishika in P18, and Reyes in P19, Tramby in P20, Deshong P21, Simon Turner P22, Biswas going to be in P23, Buggio in P24, Mickey Taylor in P25, as well as what we can see is going to be Dave in P26, as well as we can see Thompson in P27, as Serov P28, and it's going to be Gem Metal in P29. Rounding out the top 30 is going to be Bevel Dust in that 673 McLaren 720S Evo, Robert in P31, Chris Gedman, as we just saw in chat, P32, and it's going to be Evans in P33, Cotterill P34, Jansen P35, as well as Nix, William Glover, Tom Brunel, Palmer and Musi rounding out the grid for tonight as well. We do have that bop as well, which will make it more interesting, as you probably see quite frequently now around every league in ACC now, as we do have 14 seconds until we go green for the formation lap here for tonight. The formation lap is relatively long compared to what some of the other tracks, obviously this being one of the wider tracks as well. You can just see how for reference how wide this track actually is with the two side-by-side cars as we see them formulating there. You can easily get 4 wides here, but obviously I wouldn't recommend it, but we probably will see it going on into the race. But we do see now going on, we do see Kieran Cox is starting the formation lap now as we go green for round 3 here of the Formula Racing League Season 12 Rookies. As we do now is just wait until any of this happens. Obviously, there is going to be that pit stop that is mandatory for tonight. You can see the one on the scrolling leaderboard on the left between all of the drivers there. That is going to indicate if they've done their pit stop or not. The orange one will mean they have not participated in their pit stop. Otherwise, it will be green with no number allocated to their name, which means they have served their mandatory pit stop, which will be having to take place during the race. I'm not sure if there's a pit window for tonight, but we will see that as well on the top of the race timer if there is an allocated pit window. But we do see now going in to the back straight here, one of the biggest straights at Watkins Glen, following into one of the highest speed corners as well is bus stop. Very, very technical as well. But we do have to watch out for any incidents that will happen through there, because it probably will happen, because I don't think I've ever seen a Watkins Glen race without any sort of carnage going into the bus stop. But I've got faith. I've definitely got faith. But we do go further back in the grid. Craig Hill then in the back, Marker Motorsports and P13. Some could say the unlucky number starting there. Definitely going to be a bit more challenging for him. He is practically mid-grid, but I reckon for more people such as Craig Stewart and going further down there as well, Tramby is going to be in quite a vulnerable position there. Most Tramby I'm talking about there. And the other FMP, Italia, McLaren 720S, Evo livery is going to be probably a more vulnerable state than the others, obviously being in the middle of the grid. If there is a spin that might happen, he is going to be in danger from both in front and behind. So hopefully none of that happens here tonight, because with the amount of cars that we do see on the grid for tonight, it might be quite fatal, to say the least, as we go back on board with the leader here, as we are about to enter into sector 3 now for the final time of this formation lap here for tonight before we go green. Now, as we get ready to go green here for tonight for round 3 of the season 12 of the Formula Racing League Rookies / Pro-Am Championship, here we do see them formulating side by side to go green here. Kieran Cox, taking P1. Then it's going to be followed down by Galway, who's going to be taking P2, and then it's going to be Tuo Mainen taking P3 here. That's going to be the formation of the current podium sitters for the start of the race here. Kieran Cox having that fastest time by about 2.5 temp shares, but they go through into the final corner here for tonight as they all go side by side here. It's just such a big field. You can just see on the track map there, as we can see Kieran Cox is going to have that advantage point of having the inside line here, as we do see them going slower and slower as they have the start limiter on now, as we do see now the line just inside there, as we do see now Kieran Cox is going to go, as we do go green here, as we do see Kieran Cox doesn't get as good as the start as some of the other drivers, but gets a brilliant start though. Either way, as Kieran Cox tries to defend both lines, as the racing lines, we do already see that's going to be Novak already being spun. Unfortunately, he's going to be in such a vulnerable position, as I said, and that happened a lot quicker than I thought. And unfortunately, that's going to be a full-on collision with most of the grid there. Unfortunately, that is going to be so many cars that are unfortunately involved in that collision, and I believe that might be a few retirements already. That's going to be, again, Scott Moody being one of them, being involved in that unfortunate collision there. But we go back to the pole sitters so far, as we do see as well, Novak unfortunately looking like we're going to see the first retirement of the race here for tonight. But do you see Cox now is going to be just under a tiny bit of pressure here as we go back involved with the Galway as well, who is trying to take P2 away from Hanu to a main. And then as we do see again, Kieran already starting to pull a tiny bit of a gap for himself, about a second now, as we're watching now, as we do see now just how much the Galway is trying to get by as we do go through into sector 3 for the first time of tonight. He's just looking through any of the weak spots that Hanu 2 Maiden might be providing here, as it does seem to go side by side, going down into the heel for the first time for tonight. As we do see, he's going to have the inside line there, the Galway, but it's still not going to work for himself just yet, as we do see Hanu 2 Maiden now having the advantage point of having that inside line going into one of the final corners of turn 10 now, I believe, as we do see going further down the grid. There is going to be even more battles that I'm not going to be able to cover all at the same time there, as we do see now as well. Simon Turner going to be behind currently Biswas and Bergio, two of the two drivers we have seen in previous races here, so are definitely good for potential there. But unfortunately, with the unfortunate damage that we saw and the big crash on turn 1, all 3 of these drivers have been collected in that crash, so it definitely is going to minimize their performance as well. As we do see, that's almost a tiny bit of a spin there. That's going to be Tramby going side by side there with what is going to be Cody Bessie Link. That's DeShong, sorry, as we do see him now getting in front of Tramby. Is there going to be any sort of retaliation here from the McLaren driver? It doesn't seem he's going to be able to just yet, as it does seem he's going to have the slipstream though. This is going to be the best point of him, and he gets the inside line going into the first part of the bus stop as well. This is going to be very crucial for him. He's going to try break a tiny bit later than DeShong. He does do so, but he needs to be very careful and try to gain that grip that he might not have, as he does try to go for another car there, but it does seem he has to brake to try and avoid a car that's going slow there, as we do see that is going to be him nearly gaining another position here as we go 3 wide going on into the boot. Once again, as we do see, he's going to try go for the outside line going through on to what is going to be Cody Bessie Link there in the blue McLaren, but isn't going to be able to make it stick just yet. He might try to go for the inside line here. What went for him going for it? No, that is going to be actually Ferrari 296. Unfortunately, that's going to be what is going to be. I'm not actually sure who that was. Was that Stewart? That must have been Stewart. Was that Stewart? I believe that was Stewart. Unfortunately, just tagging Tramby there. Unfortunately, that's going to be Tramby's race practically ruined. Now, as we do see, Craig Stewart is still trying to attack here what is going to be Mickey Taylor for position here. He is going to sustain a tiny bit more damage than some of the other drivers now as well, because of that tap that he had with Tramby there. But he gets the inside line going into one of the final corners. As we go into the penultimate corner, he is still going to be able to gain some sort of clear air there, as we can see. But we go further down as well. Cotterill is going to be just putting so much pressure here on what is going to be Chris Gedman, who's had a brilliant start so far. Chris Gedman, who was originally in P33, has gone up 15 positions to end up in P18 so far, which is definitely going to have been assisted by the very big crash that we did see at the start of this. As well, as we go further down, that was going to be, as I see, Fastare trying to go side by side there with the BMW of William Glover, it seems. Or is that Tom Brunel? That is going to be Tom Brunel, sorry. Tom Brunel, unfortunately, going down into P21, while we do see Fastare going up into P20 momentarily. Anyway, that might change going further into the race here. But going back on board with the leaders so far, we do see Kieran Cox has already started to pull, again, a 1.9 second gap since we last spoke about this battle at the front of the grid here. So Kieran Cox not having the most difficult races, you could say, so far. But we do see Jack Evans as well in the back of Mark, a motorsport car just all over the rear of Jim and Emanuelson there, as we can see him now trying to go side by side, but isn't going to be able to make it stick just yet, as he tries once again. But no, still nothing just yet from him, as we do see as well. Connor Franson trying to go for the move in the same corner of the heel there, but isn't going to do it on Bathgate there just yet, which is, again, the sensible option. But I guess a lot of these drivers might not do the sensible option at this rate. But we do see as well, Vigawi once again trying to put pressure there on Hanu Tuamane, and this has been going on since the start of this race now, as Ford vs Ferrari, like it's going back in the days. As we do see, it is going to be going on to lap 3 here. As we can see now, all 3 of the drivers on the balance. We can also see what is going to be Andre starting to gain on the drivers ahead because of how much they are going to be battling here. So as that, we can now see Jack Evans still trying to go side by side here with the very damaged Jim Emanuelson there. As we can see, the Ford is just having that flappy bonnet effect, which is just going to affect the aero so much. But we do see Jack Evans' car practically as clean as ever, just now getting past with ease as he enters into P16 now. But for how long, as we do see as well, we can see Petoltz trying to defend now from what is going to be Stewart from behind in the number 41 Ferrari 296, who has been involved in some incidents to say the least so far today. But hopefully that isn't going to be running throughout the race, and hopefully they're just all anomalies there. We do now see as well Patol needing to try and just, again, defend at any point possible, but it doesn't seem he's going to be able to just yet, because it does seem that, again, Craig Stewart just seems to be a tiny bit more speedy than Patol so far in the Wylar Racing BMW M4 as we go further up as well. Again, Andre losing the top two now. It seems it's now there's a second between them. But we do see a tiny bit of a pack behind them starting to formulate as well. Further down in the grid now as well, but we can see it's going to be Andre Fastari in the FGA Racing Porsche trying to go side by side there with what is going to be, unfortunately, him losing the position there to what is another Porsche. I believe that's going to be Andre Fastari. This is weird. My race control's fully messed up here. As this is going to be not for position here, as we'd see it's going to be Zadave or Alexander, you could say. A bit easier there, as we can see him now having the slipstream. Obviously in P34 does seem to be a lot faster though than Fastari in front in that pink Porsche 992, as we do see them going through bus stop there. It does seem he's going to take it a tiny bit more well, again, a tiny bit carefuler than the other drivers, but again, there's nothing on the line here for Alexander, as he just wants to try and gain some positions, obviously in terms of championship points. But for today, it doesn't seem he's going to be able to make too many positions up because of that obvious crash that we saw. But he has done his mandatory pit stop as well that we have to take into consideration, which is going to obviously assist him in terms of how much time he will gain when everyone else has to do that mandatory pit stop. So we'll take note on what position he's currently in. So he's currently in P34, as we can see, but we do see now Fastari going side by side here with Chris Gedman. He tries to go for the outside line. There's going to be a tiny bit of door rubbing between the two. Chris Gedman still being able to force him off track almost there, as Fastari still being able to keep it, as it does seem Fastari goes up into P19. Chris Gedman goes into P20, but for how long, as we do also see now how much time Alexander has been able to gain in the other Porsche as well. Baron Mnemonic as well, currently in P5, just starting to get that brilliant slipstream onto Andre here after the immense amount of fighting that they have been doing here. So we do see Barry trying to do a tiny bit of an under-braking tactic there, going into the bus stop. Isn't going to work just yet, as we do see Daniel Trambaglio as well starting to gain. Is this going to be a freeway battle with just 50 minutes left to go? 10 minutes gone so far. Nothing really much has changed in terms of positions here, but fighting is still the same as it started. So we do see that's going to be a huge lunge there from Daniel Trambaglio. It's not going to work though. Unfortunately, he's going to have a tiny bit of an incident there with what is going to be Barry going into one of the hairpins, as we can see, getting a replay of this, going onto it. He looked very, very optimistic here as he lunges for the inside line there onto Barry in that Mercedes. Unfortunately, there's going to be contact between them both, but luckily no fatalities was taken during that move. Luckily, both of them stay in the same position. There is just going to be a tiny bit of damage to both parties, unfortunately. So again, a bit of an optimistic move, you could say, and I think the stewards will have something to say about that later on. We will start seeing now as well, it's going to be Serov now going side by side here with Palmer. Palmer just letting the move go pretty easily there. One of my favorite liveries here is the Rusty Races Ferrari 296 that I was mentioning. It looked like Aquafresh like last time when I think, I'm not sure who it was who said it, but someone agreed with me, so I'm going to keep calling it the Aquafresh livery until they tell me to stop. But again, goes up into P28. So is again having a bit more of a calmer race so far, as we do see that's not going to be the same here with Daniel Trambaglio, who's trying to gain as many positions as he can here in the FMP Italia McLaren 720S Evo. trying to put a tiny bit of pressure here onto France, and then the 144 Audi R8 Evo 2 here. So we do see here the slipstream is going to be crucial here for Daniel Trambaglio as we go on board with him. Now it does seem he's going to gain a tiny bit of time on the slipstream. No, he's not just yet, but it's not going to be done under bus stop so far. So again, fortunately for Franson, he's going to be able to keep his position for a tiny bit longer here. But going through bus stop, there was a huge time difference between Franson and Trambaglio. Now Trambaglio all up the rear of that Audi now, but still not going to be able to get past just yet as we go further up. As we do see now, again, Vigawi trying to get by Hanno. Is this going to be the time? He nearly had the inside line there. He tried to go for a tiny bit of an optimistic move into the inside line going into sector 3. Doesn't go for it though, so definitely bonus point for that compared to what we saw with Trambaglio's move earlier. But we do see him now trying to position his car for the inside line going in to the heel. It's not going to work just yet as he's still all over the rear now of that Ford. Now again, he can't get past that easily without making a mistake, I guess. And now that's what I'm talking about, just a tiny bit of a mistake that has caused him now to go side by side. But it does seem the Ford just braking a tiny bit later than Marco in the Ferrari now, as we do see as we enter into lap 7 now for these drivers. Again, Kieran Cox just starting to pull away like it's nothing so far. Gone to a 7.8 second gap. Looking at race control so far, we do see him braking a tiny bit later there, Marco, but still not going to be able to get past him just yet. Quarter way through this race now, so we can give a tiny bit of an update now, as we can see now Marco starting to gain even more time onto Hanu now, as he's still all over the rear. But we have to give credit now to Hanu and how well he is actually managing under pressure, as we do see he hasn't actually bottled it just yet compared to what some other drivers would do. So definitely a bit of experience here from the PST Racing driver in that Ford Mustang, as there is starting to be a tiny bit of a gap that's starting to increase now, down up to 6/10 now, as we can see for I believe it's the Greek driver, but I can't see. Yeah, is it the Greek? No, it's the Finnish driver. Currently in P2, starting to pull away. So starting to put the pedal to the metal a tiny bit, as we can see as well. Craig Hill up into P8 so far. Started P13, looking to go into P7 now. Bathgate in front of him in that BMW M4 GT3, with now just 44 minutes remaining. There is going to be no pit window time compared to what some other leagues would do. But obviously that gives the drivers a wide range of time to actually do their pit stops. Most drivers will do their pit stops in the range of 30 minutes to 25 minutes. It's where you see most pit stops being completed. We do see a lot of people doing it last minute, which I can say isn't really that efficient unless you're doing like a hot lapping technique, which again isn't that efficient either. But it doesn't usually work when you do it last minute. So again, just trying to split your pit stop half and half is always very, very efficient. Especially makes the start a lot easier, makes you a lot faster on the start, and it makes you again faster coming out into the second part of the race as well. If you're splitting the fuel 50-50 compared to what you would do for an entire fuel run and then just maybe a splash and dash towards the end here. But we do see now as well, Marco still all over the rear of Hanu now with just 70 minutes gone into this race so far. Still probably the closest bout on track so far, as well as we do see now Berger going side by side as well with Tom Brunel. Is Brunel going to be able to keep his position? No, he's not. As we do see, it's going to be Giorgio going up to P17, but for how long? As we can see, there's going to be retaliation there from Tom Brunel in a number 61 BMW M4. There's not going to be enough chances here for Tom Brunel to actually try and keep this position. It does seem now Berger's chances of keeping this position are becoming higher and higher, as we do also see as well another BMW just behind what is going to be Tom Brunel, which is going to be William Glover in the Donut Media Racing BMW M4, but still not going to be able to get close enough to Tom Brunel to actually get that position done just yet. 6 attempts between the two BMW drivers and both admins at FRO, but doesn't seem to be able to get closer just yet. Manuel Novak, you were supposed to be racing. Oh my days, I've not even noticed. We've lost 7 drivers since the start of this race. And I did see you on pit, so I'm assuming you've retired, unfortunately, from the start of this race. I apologize for what happened, even though I guess I don't know why I'm apologizing for it, but I feel very, very bad for what happened there. That was a huge. You're off to the medical center. Are you, I'm assuming it's because of your wrist or something with force feedback, or is it something more severe? You're right, mate. I'm concerned now because, again, that just shows you the dangers of sim racing as well. A lot of people would say just sim racing, it can't be that dangerous. But when you have wheels that are, again, capable of producing probably more torque than probably some small cars. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, good. I'm glad you're joking, to be honest. Because it would be the first time I've seen that, as we do see now as well. Bizwaz trying to go for a move there on William Glover isn't going to work just yet. This is going to put a tiny bit of a sigh of relief there on Tom Brunel's. Now it's gone up to a 1.5 second gap, as we do see Bizwaz trying to get past William Glover here as he tries to go side by side going into the back straight. The number 404 in the GT Aston Martin V8 now just all over the rear. Is he going to try go for a move going into bus stop? Not the wisest decision, but it looks like he's going to try go for it. He was going to try break a tiny bit later. William does seem to break a tiny bit later though. Then Bizwaz just challenging each other here now, as we do see again, both of them taking it a tiny bit messy through bus stop now with just 20 minutes into this race. Now almost at the halfway stage of this race. Now we do see Bizwaz is trying to get past William Glover at any point he can. Again, it does seem William Glover's going to make a tiny bit of a mistake there going through the hairpin, sweeping hairpin before entering into sector 3 now, and that is going to make him lose that position, and now he's still under just as much pressure as he was before. Simon Turner now trying to go for a move going into sector 3 as he goes side by side, as he is going to go on the grass a tiny bit there. That's going to minimize the amount of time, well, that's going to maximize the amount of time he's lost, as we do see one of the FRO Porsches there as well behind. So we do see again Simon Turner just breaking a tiny bit later than William Glover as he goes up into P20 there for himself. William Glover losing, unfortunately, 2 positions in the stage of 2 sectors there, as we do see going further up as well. We do see Hanu has actually started to, well, actually, no, he's lost what is going to be Virgoe, but it does seem Virgoe has gone into the pits to do his mandatory pit stop to try and potentially undercut Hanu there in the Ford Mustang. Now 39 minutes remaining, as we do see Kieran Cox as well currently P1. Can see a huge bounce on the bridge as we go through onto start finish straight to enter a new lap for the three drivers. Now Kenneth Ray's trying to go for the inside line onto what is going to be Cody Bessie. Now he gets the move done successfully and cleanly there as he tries to go for the second driver of what is going to be Bathgate now in P6. Nearly gaining 2 positions in the span of 1 lap will be quite impressive if he's able to, well, pull it off here in the middle of this pack. Now it does seem Cody Bessie isn't going to be able to retaliate just yet unless he gets a slipstream going into first stop. It doesn't seem he's going to be able to just yet, as it does seem he's losing a tiny bit of time there to Bathgate ahead. Stands so far, nothing has really changed since I last spoke about it, but we did see Kenneth Ray's now starting to pull away from Mickey Taylor behind, as well as we can see Deshaun though doing the same thing now in the Slick 50 Racing Porsche 992, and it does seem we have lost all battles so far, which again is a tiny bit disappointing. Obviously we did have that huge impact at the start of the race, which definitely did play a huge factor in that. But obviously this stuff does happen, even though there is still 33 cars. So hopefully with the pit stop factor as well, we will see some brilliant racing soon. But for now, it does seem it is going to stay quite still in terms of how many battles are going to be on track so far. Mickey Taylor, though, in P9, looking to try gain another position on Kenneth Ray, as we saw earlier, as well as Franson just starting to play a factor in this battle, as well as we can see him gaining some time here on Mickey Taylor ahead as well. But we do see that it is going to be everything that we do see so far, but that might not be the end of it soon, but we will have to find out very, very shortly here, as we do see now Biswas starting to gain time on Tom Brunel once again, as he wants to try get his position done once and for all for P14 here. Some cars are pitting now, so that is going to again fluctuate their positions as they go side by side there. Tom Brunel letting Biswas have that position there as he goes up into P14 as well. That is another thing to mention. They were two different class drivers there. Tom Brunel being classed as an AM driver and Biswas being classed as a silver driver. that is another consideration to take. I believe Tom probably did that because there's not really a battle to have to be taken between classes. Obviously, you won't lose any points out if you lose a position to a class that's above you or below you. So that is just something to take in mind here. But we do see Kenneth Raises trying to get by Shang at any time possible, as well as we can see the same with Mickey Taylor and Franson. Now, Franson leaving that move very, very late as he goes side by side there with Mickey Taylor. Mickey Taylor going into the pits, though, so makes it quite easy for himself, though. So Franson might be able to stay ahead, or will we see Mickey Taylor take that undercut there as well? Which we do see Franson there currently in P8, but will fluctuate very, very soon as well. So we can see Bathgate once again under pressure. Well, putting pressure this time actually on what is going to be Jack Evans ahead of him in that BMW backmarker motorsports car, which we can see as well ahead of it is going to be the leader, Kieran Cox, who has been able to pull a 6.5 second gap to Hanu Tuominen in P2 there. As we do see again, where is he? Again, Vigawi, who is currently just in P17, was provisional net P2, you could say. Everyone, well, in front of him has to pit so far, so that is going to play another spanner in the works in terms of battles later on. But again, we do see Bathgate is starting to get closer and closer to Jack Evans there. But we do see Kieran isn't starting to pull away from what is going to be Jack Evans there, so that is another thing that is going to limit Jack Evans' pace there until we see Kieran actually starting to put a shift in, you could say. I'm not sure why Kieran's going so slow, actually. I'm not sure if he's stalling, if he's trying to fuel save a tiny bit, but I'm not sure what's happened there. That is interesting to say the least. I'm not sure if this is his intentions to be, well, I say slow, he's still in the lead obviously, but I'm not sure what's happened here. Obviously he has no pressure from behind because the two cars behind him are blue flag back markers. But in terms of his last lap time, it was a 46.7, so it was 2 seconds off his best lap time. So I'm starting to think he might be fuel saving a tiny bit, or unless his tyres are just that shot already. Obviously, only 30 minutes left of racing so far, so if you do need to change your tyres, now is your time to do it. If he goes into the pit, this lap is going to determine where he will come out there as well. But we do see now him entering into sector 3 once again. And we do see Scott Moody as well in the Team Repsol Moody Racing BMW M4 just coming out of the pits. That is going to enter back in P32, P33, yeah, P32 it seems, just ahead of next in the Formula Racing League. Porsche 992 there. Beautiful looking livery, may I add as well. I do like everyone's liveries, to be fair, in terms of this league. They never failed to disappoint. It's just a shame I didn't see them for the first round. But we do see now Kieran Cox again still not being able to pull away from Jack Evans here. Jack Evans actually going to overtake him here, but we do see Kieran Cox going in to the pits as I predicted. So I'm assuming his tyres might be a tiny bit shot here as he goes into the pits. This is where we'll see where he ends back up, and will we see Vigawi actually regain the lead? Well, he's never actually had the lead, fun fact, so this might be his time to take the lead as we go back on board with Marco Vigawi currently entering into the final corner before sector 3. So will he be able to take it? It depends on what Kieran Cox actually does in the pits. That Assetto Racing Team livery, there was quite a big gap between them, but obviously if he makes a mistake in the pit, so like just accidentally misplacing the car, and obviously the car has to be repositioned, that will cost him seconds. But it doesn't seem so. It does seem he's taking the full lot. It does seem he's taking tyres, as we do keep an eye on where Vigawi is currently. It does seem he's coming through into the penultimate corner very, very shortly. Do we see Kieran Cox? There we go. Kieran Cox comes off the stands there and comes out of the pits there. Will it be close, and how close will it actually be between the drivers, as we see now Vigawi just going on to the start finish straight, as we see Kieran Cox leaving the pits there. Still has to do that sharp corner and then obviously try to get up to speed, which is going to be in favour once again of Vigawi. But it does seem to be quite close between the two drivers actually. In fact, can we see him? I didn't think it would be this close. No, Tom Brunel in front, so just goes through the S's there. So it does seem it is going to be still relatively close between the two drivers. But it's still, again, quite a big gap between them. But it has decreased a tiny bit, as I would have mentioned earlier. But it does seem that is going to be everything that's happening so far in terms of position share. But we do see even more cars going into the pits now. Alan Palmer being one of them in the Alan LH Motorsports BMW M4 number 44. So I'm assuming his car is inspired by Lewis Hamilton if he's got the LH in his name and the number 44. I might be wrong there, but there is quite big giveaways if that is the case. But we do see now Franson as well, currently in P18 it seems to be now in the Audi R8. Does seem to have lost 2 positions, unfortunately, to what is going to be the 2 cars in front of him. Will he be able to retaliate and get these positions back? It doesn't seem so just yet. He's going to be too far away, but we do see now Cottrell is actually going to start having a tiny bit of a battle there, as we can see ahead of ourselves there. Cottrell now in between what is going to be him and losing position. We do see it's going to be him and that McLaren. He gets past the McLaren there, or it's going to be Franson getting past the McLaren. Now this is going to be the battle for position between P17 and 18, a Ferrari versus an Audi. This isn't something you see very often. They do go side by side there, but we do see it does seem Franson gets the move done pretty easily and efficiently there. Almost looks like Cottrell left the position open for him there, so that might be something to take into consideration. So we just see Barry entering back out into P7. He does seem to be going side by side there with what is going to be a Porsche, but isn't going to be for position, so obviously doesn't need to fight that at all. As well as blue flag rules will have to apply. Does seem actually quite a big battle starting to brew here, as we can see it's actually going to go side by side here. Cody Besselink trying to go side by side with Mickey Taylor to try again P13 here as we go on board with him. It does seem he's going to be able to try and take it here for P12 now, as we do see some people entering the pits, fluctuating the position now as we go down into bus stop once again. He's not going to be able to get the move done just yet. He's going to be all over the rear of Mickey Taylor going in to bus stop. He loses a tiny bit of time there. Mickey Taylor having the advantage of the slipstream as well. But obviously that can be disadvantage as well with the dirty air. But we do see DeShong having a bit of a sigh of relief now because of how much these two are going to battle. He's got to start gaining a tiny bit of a gap here for himself in P11 and try to focus on the car ahead of Kenneth Rates, as we can see in the distance. So can now see it's still going to be Cody Besselink all over the rear of Mickey Taylor. Mickey Taylor is not shy of defending there as we enter now into one of the straights before the heel. This is going to be the corner. He will be able to do it. I think this is going to be a very optimistic move if he is going to do it, though. He still seems to be very far back. He doesn't do the move, as we do see Cody Besselink is still gaining time on him. He gets a very, very good exit, and Nid goes side by side with him going into the penultimate corner. We do see him now having the inside line almost. No, he's not going to be able to stick it just yet. The speed difference between the two McLaren so far is going to be in favor of Mickey Taylor, but it does seem now, is he going to try break it on a bit later going into the final corner? No, he's not. He's just going to have to try plant it and try to use the slipstream to his advantage, as they both tried to go for the inside line there, but we do see Cody Besselink still having to stay behind. Tries to go for the inside line even more, but isn't going to be able to go for it, as we do see now Mickey Taylor defending both lines there from the 460. As it does seem there's going to be a ton of a mistake there from Mickey Taylor. That's going to lead Cody Besselink doing the switch back into turn one and getting that position done and dusted, as we do see a replay there as we go through into turn one. This is where Mickey Taylor makes a ton of a mistake, goes wide onto the curb there, loses a lot of momentum, as we do see now Cody Besselink though getting a brilliant line through turn one and gets the move done quite easy. Is there going to be retaliation out from what is going to be Mickey Taylor? Doesn't seem so just yet, as Cody Besselink already started to create quite a big gap for himself, as well as unfortunately Tom Brunel getting a drive-through penalty for himself in P17. Got to drop him a few positions, but he's lucky this pit lane isn't the biggest pit lane in the ACC calendar, so that is going to be an advantage point. Obviously, there shouldn't be any advantage points to a drive-through penalty, but now with 20 minutes remaining, he can still gain quite a few positions in that time if he's lucky. And see now, just with 18 minutes remaining, everything starts to settle down once again, as everyone has done their pit stop. This might be where we see the final positions lay without steward interventions. As we can see now, Daniel Trambaglio though trying to fight that, as we can see him trying to, well, attack here onto Andre Orishkin here for P5. Isn't going to be able to do it just yet, as he's still going to have to try and wait for another chance to be able to do it. He tries to go for the outside line there going into turn 11. Isn't going to be able to just yet, as he is just going to have to stay behind and wait. Once again, as we do go back on board now with Cody Besselink, who's trying to get by now Deschong after getting by Mickey Taylor earlier. There is going to be a yellow flag as well, but unfortunately with race control still not going to be able to detect any of those yellow flags. But we do see as well for Starry still on the rear of Bathgate. That's all that is happening so far. We do see another one starting the brew as well. That is going to be Jim Emanuelson trying to get past what is going to be Bergio as well. Bergio going very wide there. So I'm going to get a replay on what happened there. As we go into the final corner before sector 3. Does seem he purposely goes wide almost there and just lets Jim Emanuelson through and takes P17 there. Jim Emanuelson. So we go back on board now with Daniel Trambaglio as he gets very loose going through into bus stop, but luckily is able to save it. Obviously his tyres would have degraded a tiny bit more than he would have liked for that, but we do see as well Andre starting to pull a tiny bit of a gap. Obviously that mistake has led to that gap as well. Cody Besselink now going for the inside line, going into bus stop. For the first part of bus stop, he will have the advantage point, but Deschong does not want to fight it into bus stop. A very sensible option to say the least. The Astro Racing Team driver was ready to send it any chance there. Cody Besselink going up to P9 now. Will we see Deschong retaliate here? Does seem he is still in the close enough proximity to retaliate, but isn't going to be able to go past just yet, unfortunately, from South Palmer as well. Currently in P25, looking to try and get by what is going to be Alexander no, it does seem Alexander Z-Dave is trying to get by what is going to be Palmer in the number 44 BMW, who hasn't done his pit stops just yet. Same with Nix. So we have to see those two coming into the pits at some point. Daniel Trambaglio now trying once again as he goes on to a new lap of lap 24. He tries to go and spikes for the inside line there, but isn't going to work for it just yet. And he has to wait for another move to go, as we do almost see a redemption arc there from himself to try get and regain P5 here. Doesn't seem he's going to be able to just yet. As we go through the S's, this is where he's going to have the fastest part of the circuit on his side, plus obviously having the immense slipstream that would be given here. Still trying to get by. There's going to be contact between the two drivers. Unfortunately, they're all going to each other. And who is that? That's another car who I was not expecting to see there, but that's unfortunately going to be quite a few drivers who have unfortunately piled into each other there in results to that little incident there. As we do see, that is going to be, again, I'm just going to go on board now with Craig Hill as he goes into the thing. It does seem there is that car that was spun there, as well as we do see Daniel Trambaglio as well. So I'm not sure what happened with the other McLaren, if that was a result of the initial incident or if that was just completely separate, but it looked very, very planned out well if it was definitely not initial. But we do see as well Alexander still trying to get by Palmer. I've seen Palmer and not Alexander, sorry, hitting the wall slightly as he goes into now going into the final corner as well. Bergio starting to gain some time and momentum on himself, but unfortunately I can't witness it. Yes, there we go. Chris Gedman as well in P27 trying to get past Bergio, but it's going to be the other way around, unfortunately, for now, as he wants to try and retaliate to get his position back. Now 40 minutes of racing remaining here. It's a tiny bit loose there going through into turn 11, but isn't going to be able to keep it there. Now, just under 10 minutes remaining of this race. Everything has settled down. Unfortunately, there isn't too much to speak about in terms of racing here. The only battle that is starting to appear is going to be Cody Besselink and Kenneth Reyes. Cody has been on fire so far in today's race. Started what was going to be P14, gained 6th position now in P8, nearly making it P7 here. Kenneth Reyes under pressure now. P2 in class. Kenneth Reyes is compared to what is going to be P6 in class for Cody Besselink. But what we do need to see now, if he's going to be able to get past Kenneth Reyes and make it P7 for himself. Let's see now as he goes through into the heel. Isn't going to be able to make it work just yet for himself. Now 9 minutes of racing left to go. Harry as well, coming and getting closer to now what is going to be Vigalway. It's still going to be the original podium sitters so far, as we can see. It's going to be Kieran Cox in P1 with an 8.5 second gap to P2. Henry Maynard currently in P2 with PST Racing Ford Mustang. Then it's going to be Vigalway in P3, just 3.4 seconds behind P2 or the silver podium position. Now with 5 minutes remaining, we can go further back, as we can see Cody Besselink has been able to reach into the proximity of Kenneth Reyes, now the number 75 Aston Martin against Cody Besselink's McLaren 720S Evo. As we do see now this battle, only 5 minutes remaining, so this is when we see Cody probably becoming a tiny bit impatient, because he wants this position probably quite badly here, but he's in the proximity now where the slipstream is going to be the strongest. Kenneth Reyes just has to hold off for 5 more minutes, which is definitely possible to say the least, but will it be possible? Well, it's also still possible for Cody Besselink to get that position done and dusted here, but we do see this is going to be where the most overtaken prone area for Cody Besseling is going to be, which is going to be turn 1 here. This is again going to be a good place to catch up here with the slipstream here going through into the back straight now with 4 minutes remaining. This is when we're going to see Cody Besseling trying a move, potentially going into bus stop. No, he's not. He's going to have some sort of sense, which is definitely good to say for the Assetto Racing team car, as he spent so long trying to get this far up in the grid. It would definitely be a shame if he were to actually wreck it going on to the final few laps. This is not commentator's curse, it's just an actual saying, because I've seen so many times as well where you can see a car getting so far up the grid with just moments left to go and absolute wrecks it. We do see him now going side by side here with Kenneth Reyes going into the hairpin or the toe before going into sector 3. Not going to be able to get it done just yet. He tries to formulate a switchback. He now has the inside line going into the heel as they go free wide here with traffic. He's definitely got to throw a factor in the works here for both drivers here, but it does seem Cody Besseling is now sustained, unfortunately, having the outside line once again with 3 minutes remaining, about 2 laps or so, depending on where P1 is going to be located on track here. And further up as well, now we do see Barry in the Baz Laundrum at black Mercedes Evo, I assume it's going to be. I wouldn't expect him to be this high up in a non-Evo cars. We do see Chris Gedman there as well in the Porsche, just getting out the way of these faster cars here. We do see now Barry trying to get P3 here. He has it in sight. It's exactly the same situation as what Cody Besseling's in, but this is going to be for a podium position as well. It's just that extra step. As well as we can see now, it does seem all Virgaway has to do, for the final 2 minutes, just defend here, but obviously it's easier said than done if you have so much pressure on. But we do see Cody Besseling is just 2 tenths between him and Kenneth Reyes now with 2 minutes remaining. We do see him now just starting to gain more time as we go through the complex of corners for one of the final times here, and that's unfortunately going to be a McLaren in the barrier there, and I assume that is going to be Daniel Trambaglio. Is that Trambaglio in the barrier? I believe it is. Yes, unfortunately it is going to be Trambaglio that went into the barrier. We get a replay there, just unfortunately has a tiny bit of a moment there, almost a tiny bit of understeer and oversteer at the same time, and just unfortunately hits the barrier, just going a tiny bit too fast going into that corner complex. And that is going to be him sustaining even more damage to the left-hand side of that McLaren 720S Evo. We do go further back up, and we do see for the lead here, it does seem, again, Virgaway is going to lose that position to Barry, as we do see here. We get a replay of what's happening as we go through into what is going to be, oh no, it was before the bus stop here. It does seem, I believe it must have been into turn 1. That Barry was able to get that position done and dusted there, but will we start seeing Virgaway starting to retaliate?
The leader is on the final lap. Give it a final push.
As you heard crew chief say, it is going to be the final lap now for the drivers. Kieran Cox going on to the final lap. So far, so good for himself as he enters into it. I have to say, though, it's been a brilliant drive from himself. Currently in P1 with now just a 10-second gap between him and P2. Brilliant drive so far from Kieran. It's not over just yet. 1 lap remaining, as you heard, as he enters into the final corner for the penultimate time of tonight. You see a tiny bit of traffic in front, but hopefully that won't affect him too much as we enter the final lap of tonight. You see, that is going to be a yellow flag there as well going into the penultimate corner. That is going to be, unfortunately, the BMW of, I believe. Oh, who's that going to be? I'm not sure who that is, unfortunately. but that's going to be one of the BMWs. Oh, it's going to be Moody, unfortunately. Just spinning out there, and just even 30 seconds ago, as I just put the replay to 30 seconds, does seem he was still spun, so he's lost over 30 seconds since that unfortunate issue occurred. Then, as we do go back on board now with Serov going on into turn 1 here in that Rusty Racers Ferrari 296, as we can see Jansen ahead as well. Just 4 tenths between the two drivers so far. As we do see, it is going to be Serov just getting closer, but we go back on board with the leader as he enters into now the final few corners of the race. You see another slow car ahead there. I believe that's going to be Moody, who's just been able to move there as Kieran Cox enters the penultimate corner and goes into the ultimate corner for the final time for tonight to win round 3 here all over. And he's in the AM class as well compared to the silver class, and wins round 3 here in Watkins Glen for the season 12 Formula Racing League Rookies and Pro-Am Championship, and extends his championship points by quite a while. It's going to be followed then by Hanu Tuomaiden, who takes P2 there in the Ford Mustang PST Racing, followed then by Barry taking P3, as well as Vigoe taking P4. Not going to be too happy with himself losing the position on the end laps or so, but still a very high position for himself. A bit of a gap now between P4 and 5. Craig Hill, brilliant drive from him tonight, starting in P13, ended up in P5 here with quite a damaged looking rear end of that Lamborghini as he comes across the line to take P5 for himself. Then we also see it's going to be Andrei Orishkin taking P6 in the Red Panda Racing BMW M4, as well as we can see Kenneth Ray taking P7, followed by Cody Bessilink. A brilliant drive from the Astro Racing Team driver. Number 460 McLaren 720S. Then it's going to be followed then by Deschong in P9 in the 992 Porsche, as well as we can see Mickey Taylor rounding out the top 10 for tonight in the Taylor Motorsport Evo McLaren 720S Evo, followed then by Franson in the Audi as he gets that car very, very loose to say the least, and does a very impressive job on not crashing. So well done to you, kind to us. We do see as well Stephen Bathgate now in the Team Alba Motorsports car, the car we have seen quite a bit on the start of the race, but had quite an isolated final part of the race. Goes across the line into P12, I believe it is, as everyone's starting to leave now. It's making it a tiny bit more complicated to track. Jim Amulison taking P12. I believe it's actually going to be 13 now, because I believe someone has left. Cotterill as well going to be taking P14 as well, but that is going to be our grid share for tonight. Brilliant racing for most of it. Unfortunately, it did get a tiny bit dry going into the halfway point of the race, and I do apologize if I stopped speaking a tiny bit. I'm still recovering from a bit of an illness, to say the least. But that is going to be the race shift tonight, as I just saw a humongous crash there on the final part of the session there. But we go on to the calendar and seeing what is next. Obviously, next, as I was mentioning earlier, is going to be Nordschleife for that 90-minute race in the best track in the world. Followed then by Bathurst. They're going to be quite tight if we do sustain still the 40-car grid that we did see, as well as we're going to see Paul Ricard then, followed then by Zolder for the penultimate round, and then Suzuka for another 90-minute race to round off today's, well, not today, sorry, season 12's rookies series. I also do apologize once again if my comms were just a tiny bit rusty. Not very happy with how I performed tonight, if I'm going to be just fully transparent with you guys, but hopefully you still enjoyed, and hopefully I will see you next time around. But for now, have a great rest of your evening, and goodbye.